Welcome pedlers to another pedal preservation video, and in the rack we have another black Carrera, but this one actually might be worse than the last one. Although it's cleaner, it's certainly got a lot more corrosion and it's definitely got more issues. I'd just like to say thank you very much to everyone who tuned into my last video and took the time to leave a comment and a like, because it definitely helped the algorithm, and suddenly I do seem to now start to be getting some traction on my videos, because I'm now leaning into getting over 1,000 views rather than maybe just a couple of hundred views. So the algorithms are definitely being tickled, so thank you very much. And also some great comments on the last video. I got lots of tips and a lot of interaction with you guys, the viewers, so that's great. If you can do the same on this video, absolutely. If you see that I'm doing anything and you know how to do it better, then definitely down in the comments will you please leave one. We're going to just tear this bike right down, get what needs to be cleaned, and what can be saved can get saved, and what can't be, well, again, I think more in the case of this one, we're definitely going to have to find some used parts. One good thing out of this bike though, believe it or not, is the chain is actually in good condition. Huh, who would have thought? I don't have to replace the chain. Boom, out she comes. Right, unfortunately there's no quick link in here, so I'm going to have to split it, which is a bit of a shame. One good thing is this chain is actually in impeccable condition, so it may have actually just been changed, because if you push this pin out too far, it drops out on the other side, and you want just enough left in, so when you come back to join it, it'll hook in itself and stay in. See, I've done okay, but I've pushed the pin through too far, so that's going to be a bit of a pain to rejoin. I might end up using a link. So as always, we'll be doing new cables all round, because they are literally pennies, so we'll get all these sort of things. As I say, where there's going to be a problem, I'm going to have to do one of two things, because this is an Alta, sorry, derailleur, but we've got a SRAM X5 shifter, so they don't match. So we're going to do one of two things. See if I can find another one, but I know I can't, because I barely found one for the last bike. But see if we might have to change the shifter at the front, which is a pain, because then it's not going to match the other one, which I just love stuff matching. But we'll get this in the ultrasonic cleaner anyway. Yeah, we're putting these back on. I think they're kind of at their end. Jeez, there you go. Oh, yeah. Okay. There we go. Oh, reason about rust on everything, so this is no surprise. Oh. These bolts and all that, I'll grind them, as in, when I say grind them, wire brush them, to make them nice again. Let's see if we've got movement. Yeah, nice even movement. So cosmetically, not so good. Mechanically, fine. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, this is all very tight. Now when I talk about bikes going in the bin, going in the scrap pile, the way that it works at the bike library is we have guys that will come down and take all the scrap bikes away, the bikes that can't be saved, and they properly recycle them. They'll break them down to their individual components and recycle them responsibly. They don't go into like a sort of general sort of junk pile, which is one good thing. Yeah, I like to, if I can, to save these clips, because they look neater, albeit, to be honest, cable ties are probably better. These just look neater, and I like to save them if I can. I might need to find one, the one that went flying. Right, let's give it the test, see if it's working. Yep, that one's a bit slow, but we'll get that sorted, new pads, etc. Right, so this has just all been held on with electrical tape, so this can come off. However, we have got a Jubilee clip down here. It's like one of these big muckle things. I mean, literally to hold a hose on, I gotta ask yourself. And then we can get that off, because that will go in. Oof, there you go, that sounded horrendous. This will go in the pot for cleaning. There's a bit of corrosion on it, but it looks like it's all working okay. But you know what? Just make sure it's right. Right, crankset time. Oh, look, we've got posh little covers. Not a fan of these, but oh, geez, that was, honestly, that was very slack. In fact, I could probably just spin this out by my hand. Yep, there we go. One nut out. See what we got crank-wise. Just a standard tapered crank, so no frills there. Right. Oh yeah, no bother. It's actually all fairly, going by the rest of the bike, I thought this might put up a wee bit of a fight, but there's absolutely no issue here at all. It's just popping straight off. Boom, there we go. Let's have a look. I'm wondering actually if this bike's actually had a lot of use, because this all looks very good. And the chain was like new. I just wonder if it's been another one of these deals where it's been abandoned. So again, the way I check is, notice there's absolutely no wear here. See these sharp edges? That's where your feet touch, and there's no wear. I don't think this bike was actually used a great deal. Could be onto a winner. What to make of this? Yeah, it doesn't seem to want to fit in, and I think this is the only tool I've got. Now, I'm either doing it or I'm wrecking it, one of the two. Oh, there we go. I think that's the idea of that. I'm going to get a wet bottom bracket here. Just noticing the drips. Yep. Now remember, I haven't washed the bike, so that wasn't me. But what I'm hoping is, yeah, I think I need another bloody bottom bracket. What was happening lately? I just seem to be doing bottom brackets all the time. Let's give this whole area a wee degrease. Let's get this in there. PT's brush here, absolutely brilliant. Doing stuff. If they did a wire brush the same way, it would be good for doing like bottom brackets and stuff. See how clean that is in there. I think again we've got another winner here. Bottom bracket, that would have been absolutely brilliant, because of all the things that cost money, bloody bottom brackets are probably the most expensive. Well, maybe exception of a couple of items that I hope we won't need. Right, this is actually feeling quite good. I mean, it just feels dry, you know, you kind of get that roughness that you know will go when we get some lube in there. Right, as I said earlier, I don't think if I use this again, I'll be painting it, but I think I've got plenty stems that I'll not need to do. Drop it out. Oh, should have put a wee bit of lube in there just to help that. It sounds dry. Yeah, all very dry. Oh yeah. You can definitely see how dry that is, and that has been cut at a crazy angle. So this has obviously had some amateur work. Amateur work, like I'm the professional. Oh. Ooh, right, okay. Yeah, that's just all, I don't even see that, but this is just all dry. It has actually got their enclosed bearings. Top one feels okay. Actually, they both feel okay. I think I'll get my bearing putter outer 5000. Just hope this is agreeable. Yep. We'll see when we knock these bearings out. We might be able to get the shields off and get them all reworked. Oh, no, we're all right. There we go. We've got the whole thing out. Right, I've just turned the frame around. So I'm whacking down again. It's going to be a bit easier. There we go. Voila. Okay, so while the parts in the ultrasonic cleaner, I'm going to just start addressing the frame. I'm going to obviously have to get all this vinyl off, and then just maybe, probably with black frames, they come up really well when you polish them. I'm not going to do it real time. I'll just do a kind of like time lapse of it happening, because probably happening, and then I'll, you know, we can see the results at the end. I'm just trying to keep my videos shorter. You know, the consensus was you kind of want to get your videos into sort of like 30 to 45 minutes, so I need to get them down a bit. You can see this seems to be the best thing for getting residue off. GT85, let it soak in, come with a, not an abrasive, but a cloth of description, and yeah, it just comes off. You might have to do a few applications, but this is all coming off, which is good. There's probably a better cloth, because this is obviously going to absorb the GT85, so something that's got an abrasion to it, but kind of preserves the GT85. But look at that. Whee! Right, I'm just going to get the brake pads out and give these all a bit of a clean. These are actually in really good condition, so again, another one. In fact, to be honest, don't say that's stuck. Well, I'm going to be putting new pads anyway, so if I do manage to contaminate them at this point, it's not going to matter. Should have known that this is where I prefer the split plinth rather than the bolt, because the bolt can seize in there. Yeah, so that one's okay, but I know the other one's jumping like crazy, so that's going to be a little bit of a problem. As you can see there, plenty meat, but we just don't know what they're going to be like. So as we're going to be resurfacing the discs, these are just going to go in the junk anyway. Right, let's have another go at this. But this could be a bit of a problem because that's already started jumping. Okay, so the trick for this is, because that's rounded out and that's metric, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an American Imperial driver. So these are like the old Imperial sizes, like 3/32, etc. So they just step up very fractionally. So where that joint's a bit worn, this we should be able to hammer in and do the job. I'm hoping. This might not work, but it might be just enough. Oh, there we go. See, win-win. There we go. I don't know, what I might actually do is not put these back in and put split pins back in, because to be honest, in my opinion, they're just far better. And once again, plenty of meat on them, which is making me continue to think that the bike was hardly used. These are probably actually all right. They look okay, but again, pads are like £2 or £3, so I'm not going to worry about it. Oops. But what we'll do, give this all a nice wee clean down. This is just good for getting in there and cleaning. Now, if I remember right, these were actually okay. Yeah, see, they're both moving evenly, no issue at all. So these are perfect. And then just give the outsides a wee wipe. We don't have the problem we had on the last bike where the banjos, which is where the hydraulic fluid goes in, was all corroded. We don't have that problem. Yeah, now as you can see there, the bleed nipple is fine. Unfortunately, the cover's missing. Whoops, the cover's missing, but at least that's all fine. So that's cleaned up quite nice. We can obviously just give this a wee, see, everything's actually quite nice, but we'll give this a wee spruce down and clean. I see GT85, I'm telling you. Also, I did have an inquiry. Somebody said, well, we don't get GT85 really in the US, and I know you don't. So what you want to use is One Step by Finish Line Products, which is what I would be using, but in the UK it is really expensive, where I'd have to pay about £12 for One Step. I buy a can of that from Amazon, 400ml for £3. Got to be and the amount that I have to use, because I use it for everything, it would be too expensive to use One Step. So hopefully, I know there was a bit of corrosion on that. I'm hoping it's going to hide most, well, not hide of it, but deal with most of it. I've rubbed like basically oil into it all, so that should arrest it. And I say very little play because it's hardly being used. But there we go. I'll not bother showing you doing the other one because I say I'm trying to keep my video lengths down. But there we go. So that's all ready to go back on the bike. I'm going to do the same with this, just give it a wee clean down because this has got no gunge or anything on it at all. This is good to go. Give it a wee wipe. I mean, I promise I don't even need to do that. As I showed you before, the crank arm's got no wear on it at all, so it's kind of telling me that this has actually had very little use, but unfortunately not stored correctly. So once again, we have the fork dilemma. Now, I know I said at the start of the video that I reckoned I could save these, which to be honest, you probably get them working. The issue is the bike's starting to clean up. There's a clear tide line of corrosion at the bottom of each fork. The other issue we've got is, as you'll notice, these forks are kind of geared up for having rim brakes. And although we're not using them, they're still there. It doesn't look right. So I don't think these are the original forks off the bike. However, I do have another set of forks that they have wear to the stanchion, but there's no corrosion at all. These are working fine. The problem was the lockout control is missing. But as you can see, they're virtually identical forks, except for they don't have these on them, which is perfect. I think they possibly could be slightly longer travel, but it's minuscule. Also as well, they don't have the corrosion on the steerer tube. I will need to take the seat for the bearing off and put it onto that one, unless I've got another one, because that one does look a little bit corroded. But apart from that, a little bit of cosmetics down there, they're absolutely fine. So I'm going to put these on it because the bike is actually, the frame is starting to clean up nice. I think it's another one of these where it looked like it was really bad, but actually it's turning out to be a wee diamond in the rough. Right, so I want to pop that off. I think I'll need to, I was going to say they should actually just unclip or pull out. Oh, there we go. Oh, right, okay. Right, yep, there's a, you're kind of coming in at the wrong angle. I don't know if you can see that, but there's like a sort of star underneath it. I'm hoping I'll be able just to tease that out with pliers. I don't want to damage it. You could actually buy all these spare, so it wouldn't be the end of the day. There we go. See, got a bit of corrosion on. I think these are going to be quite bad inside. But again, these could go on to being used for something else. Oh, in fact, that's just cleaned off. It should actually just pop in there. Now what we want to do is we want to move it all round one way. Right, so that's it all the way around that way, and then we can put this on in that orientation, and then that will go back that way. Right. Let's hope it's moved enough that I can slide the bottoms off. Fingers crossed. we go. I think we're all right. Well, maybe just as well opened it. Derusting with the foil, just to help it. I mean, this is all below the tide line, as it were, so wouldn't really be affecting it anyway, but as well deal with it. Yeah, they're pretty clarty inside there, so I'll maybe drop some degreaser in there and leave it. I'm just going to whack some of this on. It's nice, cheap and cheerful grease, albeit it's not the nicest of stuff, but I got loads of it, so I can afford to. I think this is actually just off CVD drives on cars, just that stuff. It'll do absolutely fine for this. I don't feel guilty about lathering it on. There we go. It feels a bit tight. Am I don't know. Thought it was cross-threading it there, but I'm not. So the ultrasonic cleaner had finished, so I thought I'm just going to have a wee investigation of the bearings. Right, okay, so that explains a lot. Oh, that doesn't look good. I actually thought these were sealed, but they're not sealed. This is strange, because this is just like it's open bearings, but in a... I'm wondering if I can... That is weird. So you could actually put a regular sealed bearing in the same space. I'm pretty sure I don't have one of those. Nope. What do I have? No, I don't understand it. Does this have to have individual balls in there? Because you know what? I don't have balls. Okay, so while I'm deliberating what to do over the headset, don't know whether to try and salvage another one or to you know, buy a new one. But I was trying, if I can try and recycle something, it's what I always like to do. Now I'm going to go back to the forks though to move on. So actually what I managed to do, I actually managed to get the whole fork lowers in my ultrasonic cleaner. So I had them in like that, fluid was to about there, 30 minutes that way, 30 minutes that way. So that's got them all nice and clean. The seals, these have all been cleaned. So I just need to pop these back in. Hoping I'll not need my tool now. They actually popped out quite easy. So they're actually going in quite easy. Normally you would need, I will show you, a tool like this. This is one I 3D printed. So this is, I don't think this will, no. So this wouldn't fit because that's for a Fox 34. Again, 3D printing's great because I can do these in any size I want, and you just put that in there and then just whack it back in. But I'm not going to need to do that. So that's that. Before we pop it down, the seals, you don't use normal grease, you use this stuff called shram butter. And you just put this on. So you put these on the seal. Now, I don't know if you can see on the inside, the seal is like, so it's a seal, but there's like a missing bit, like a channel. You want to get the grease into the channel. Now, on more advanced forks, they'll actually have like a sponge underneath there. And what you do is you soak the sponge in oil, and that just keeps constantly lubing it. But these are cheaper forks, they don't put it in, which is a shame. So we just need to put the shram butter around there. So you kind of want enough grease to be like a reservoir. Like that. There we go. I don't want to go too crazy because this stuff's actually quite expensive. So I'd rather keep it for my own forks. Right, now we can pop these back on. Just make sure you've got that round the right way. Oh, just about. Oh, come on. All right. Okay, so that one is fine. That one, I don't know whether I'm going to be able to get that all the way down. Might have to. Yeah, so let's say what I'm going to have to do. That side's not a problem, but that side I'm going to have to push it down, then put the screw in. These are the screws I was buffing away earlier. I wondered actually what these ones were. So I'll put that one in first. If I can push this. Of course, I'm only pushing down one side, so it's sticky. Oh, there we go. Ah, there we go. Right, I think we've got the headset figured out. So I've got a couple of cups. So this is going to be a bit different from what was on it. I've got a couple of cups from another frame, fresh set of bearings, and I think we've now got all the spacers that I need. I've put a new, I don't know what you call it, the bottom part that goes on the fork, that's already in situ. So I think we're kind of good to go. I've kind of placed all this together and everything seemed to be spaced correctly. So I think we have avoided small disaster having to put a brand new headset on, which is not really what, you know, it's about restoration, reusing on the channel, not just buying lots of new parts and throwing it on a bike. I just don't see the point in that. This is a low-end bike. Well, it says low-end bike. It's a high-end bike, but it has definitely, you know, it's been used. Right, let's get on with it. Right, I'm just gonna put grease. So this is more just for, not really lubrication, but more for, go. Right, next, fresh bearing. Bit more lathering on top. And do the bottom as well. I haven't touched on it yet, but I've got another stem for it. There we go. And we've got top, the wedge spacer, and of course I need the other spacers. Actually, I think these might actually do. I'm going to take the small ones off because I've actually got some big spacers. Although, let me just check how they fit. Yep, that seems to be okay. Let's see where we are. No, we need more spacers. Ugh. I'm going to have to swap out the big thick spacers because I've actually got more of the thinner ones. You'll see. Yeah, see, that's perfect. That'll go on like that. I've got a reasonable recess there. Top cap A. I don't think that's actually the original one, but you know what, it's actually a bit cleaner than the original one. Right, let's see where that puts us. A feel. It's a bit tight. Back it off, back it off. There we go. If there's any play there. No, I think we're good. I think we're good. I think we've averted disaster, and again we have utilised not new parts but serviceable parts. So it's been a couple of days, and really good news. I went down the bike library to get some bits and bobs so we could finish the build. So I've got a bottom bracket, had to get a new one. To be honest, you just don't fit a second-hand bottom bracket to a bike. We've got some chain links, but the great thing is I managed to get a used SRAM X5 rear derailleur. This is massive because, to be honest with you, I thought it was going to be the other way around, where I was going to have to stick with the Shimano derailleur and try and find a 9-speed shifter, but I couldn't find a 9-speed shifter. Just literally up to about 8 speed is normally all we get in the library. We don't get anything overly high end. So to find actually the exact thing, and this keeps the whole ecosystem as it was originally, so I'm totally buzzing that I've got this X5 derailleur. So I got that as well, and I think that's it. We can now push on with the board. Oh yes, the other thing is I managed to find a couple of good used 26-inch tyres as well, because the ones that are on it, they were probably passable, but they were starting to crack and I didn't want to refit them. I went down the library. Yes, we've got lots of new tyres, but that's kind of not the point of these builds. I'm meant to be using as many reconditioned parts as possible to save ultimately what had been a bike that was either broken for bits or literally just chucked in the trash. So getting a couple of used tyres is great news, because these will come off a bike that will have ended up in the trash and we will have salvaged the parts from those. Right, I'm crossing my fingers on these because these are not in the best condition. They feel a bit rough, and going by the rest of the bike, then this could backfire. I might have to find new wheels, which I didn't want to do. This is already a replacement wheel. At least I think this is the one, because it doesn't match the front exactly. But we're going to get this stripped down and see exactly where we're at. Right, hopefully I don't have to put this on the ground, but usually I do. Oh no, we're good, we're good. Sometimes they're sticky and I won't be able to hold on to them. Because we can get all this off. I've got the, you probably hear it in the bloop in the background there. We can get the this all off and cleaned. Looks in okay condition, but I've been caught out with this before, so I'll put this in the ultrasonic cleaner. So I think I told you this tip before. Just keep everything together, use the tie wrap, put it on backwards. Provides enough grip to stop it falling apart, but it allows you to reuse the tie wrap. Yep, that feels actually okay. Actually, now that I've got everything off, actually that hub feels absolutely brilliant. But what we're going to do, we're going to back stuff off and just get some fresh grease in there. You know, it's no prize build, but minimal amount of work, and it'll allow us to properly tweak it and check it. Usual is a 17mm and a 15-ish mil. Let's see where we're at. Yep, that's correct. There we go. Just back this off all the way. In fact, you know what we'll do? We'll take this off. So you'll notice I haven't got my usual orange gloves on. I ran out. I'm waiting for a delivery today from Amazon. Right, so I'm turning the other end, holding this end so it's backing that off. Try and keep a bit of tilt, and you really don't want all your bulbs to fall out. I can assure you it's not pleasant. And we get some grease in. Now, somebody asked me about where I got my grease gun. So you get these actually from Halfords if you're in the UK, but watch out, because I've noticed the thread that the bottle screws into is not the same across the board. So it fits this one. So if you get this brand, which comes with this, that's all fine. That's an ecosystem. But however, I've got some PT's grease and they don't fit this grease gun. So I'm now going to have to try and find another grease gun. I don't know why. I mean, they look identical, but they just don't screw in. I honestly don't know what. I mean, it's such a simple thing having a sort of universal size for grease guns, but it seems that you don't. They don't. Right, now you probably wonder, well, why'd you screw it in, Rick, all the way when you're just going to have to back it out to do the other side? It's just this, as you flip it over, it just stops all the balls falling out. So now we're going to back it back out again. Now this side's a little bit more awkward to get into, so you've really got to back it out. So just watch the axle doesn't disappear out the cup on the other side. This actually looks fairly well greased up, and the balls are in damn good condition. I can see them all nice and shiny, no rust. So this is just more of a, this is like a courtesy grease. I think it's nice, like when you're looking at a used bike and you can see little traces of blue or red grease in there, and you're just thinking, yeah, that's been looked after. Oh yeah. Yeah, it feels a bit stiff, but I think that's possibly the old grease that's in there. Yeah, the right thing to do would probably be to have, I'm just going to put a little bit of, oh, yeah, I just realised what I've done. I've just got it on the disc. Doesn't overly matter because the disc will be coming off because we'll be cleaning and sanding those anyway. So it really doesn't matter. But if you were doing this, I've just made a massive boo-boo. That's contaminated that, and that would be it, ruined. Right, so that's that. Now we can get this back on. Now, this is a bit hit and miss because I'm tightening it up, but you got to come back and check it. Yep, I can feel a tiny bit of play in there. So what I tend to do is, this doesn't always work, put the spanner on the other side, the cone spanner on this side, and just nick it up. What you're ideally hoping is you get it before this one slackens off, so you can finally, I like to get it where you're just starting to feel like a wee bit of a roughness, because I feel it just, if it was all brand new, no, you wouldn't do that way. Oh, I think that has done it. Yeah, that feels better. Right, well, we'll see how that goes. Anyway, we need to get this disc off. Oh, cheers, babe. Oh. Did you lick it first? Mm-hmm. Okay. Cup of tea and a bit of chocolate from the wife. One. Oh, that's it here. Does feel good though. You know, there's like no lip there at all, so these seem very little wear. They'll clean up nice. I'm just going to give this a quick little clean down. Some cleaner. I'm just waiting for all the offers from PTs. Come in and sponsor my channel. Hey. Right, let's de-rubber the wheel. There we go. Right, but as per the usual on the squeaky brake video, what we're just going to do is, because these discs are actually in incredibly good condition, they just need rekeyed, because when we put new pads in the calipers, we want some of that brake pad to transfer over to the disc. There we go. Let's give that a wipe down with some brake cleaner, and that's going to be ready to go back on the bike. Obviously, we're going to be doing the other side as well. Okay, so I've got the front wheel away getting, well, when I say getting, I've given it a lick of paint just to improve its appearance. The cassette is now out of the ultrasonic cleaner, so it's all looking shiny. So we can, let's just start putting bits back together. I feel like we're building a bike. Oh, great. Splodge, because I'll need to give this rim still a clean. So I want to rotate that till we get the small slot, and then looking on there, small slot. Otherwise, you're just going to be putting it on, jumping around. Now, it's easy to figure out whether you're getting it right on the big one, but when you get into the smaller ones, you've got to watch, because you can actually get this wrong, and then you can actually attempt to tighten it up wrong. There we go. Clean. In fact, find it sometimes a bit easier just using a cassette tool to screw it on. So I always go backwards first and then forward. So what I do is I go up and nick it, which is almost tight, and then give it a spin. What I'm looking for is these gears getting really wobbly. Now, they will appear to wobble a little bit. That's just because the way the teeth are offset slightly. But we're just looking for big differences before I tighten it up. As I say, you will be able to tighten it and it'll not be right. There we go. Got another wee spin. You can also look for wee gaps down there that shouldn't be there, and that'll tell you whether you got all those on properly. But to me that's looking good. Right, what we can do is put the disc on. Just going to give that wee rubber a clean because it's dragging the whole end down, because it's all looking real nice, everything's running smooth. This disc will be going that way, which is correct there. Oh, that's right, I was gonna buff up the screws. I haven't. Right, that's the screws all done. Now you notice I can't get into the little bit of rust in there, so what you can do is just put a wee dot of oil in there and it just turns it dark and no one's gonna notice. There we go. You see, once that hits the pads hit that, we're going to get brake pad material on the disc, and that's going to work out way better. Right, going on for the second time because I forgot to press record, so I've already had a dry run. And as I said before, careful when you're putting your derailleur on, because you're tapping into aluminium. So if you get this thing cross-threaded, you will wreck it instantly and you'll have to get a new hanger. You don't want to do that. There we go, actually. That's actually all working really nice. SRAM, I'm not a fan of SRAM, but you know what? It works. And on this bike, it's its ecosystem. So it's the fact I got one was brilliant. Right, fresh bottom bracket. I think this is actually the only new part apart from cables that will be going on the bike, which I always take that as a bit of a win. You know, as long as it's all salvageable. Just helps it for, you know, corrosion prevention. Right, so always go back a bit, let's let it find its thread and then you can start tightening up. And remember, it's the opposite of what you would think it would be. You can get that in. Sometimes you find it easier putting the other side in first to align it. That sometimes helps. I find it sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't. Oh yeah. Okay, so I've replaced the bottom bracket. We've now got a 118mm bottom bracket in there, and I've given it a wee test and it's just giving the right amount of clearance now. So we can now start putting the cranks, etc. back on. Okay, so now that's in place, we can actually start getting the front derailleur on and get this all connected up. Got to make sure that's going to come far enough. It's sitting a bit high. Go a wee bit lower. This one's actually still got, I don't know if you can see it in there, still got the wee sticker to tell you for setting the height, which is quite cool. I'm also obviously getting the alignment correctly that way as well. May as well. Right, that's pretty much, we're pretty much in the loop with that one. Right, got our screws, they've all been shined up. Right, so we'll just tack these on, because we'll need to, because we left the bracket on and took it off at the caliper. And we'll need to put pads in them as well, and then obviously we can get all these put on, if I can find them. So as before, just tighten it up and then back off. There, back off, so we get that. Right, so same again, brakes, shifters, and then we've got our grip. Right, I just want to roughly get that to match up on the other side. There we go. Put shifter's gone a wee bit tight. Right, I'll eyeball these for now, but we'll do that properly at the end. There we go. There we go, cockpit's starting to come together. Okay, so before I do the front shifter cable, I'm going to run the rear one, because the rear one's going to need because we're missing the cable end mounting, cable housing end mounting, I'm going to actually have to run a full length all the way down. Totally functional, aesthetically maybe not ideal, but it won't make any difference. But because I've only got this one length of cable housing left, before I run or cut a new piece for the front shifter, I want to make sure we've done the back one fully. So I'm going to run that first. Right, okay, so I put a bar end, I removed the cable just so we can get this all in, and then we can pass cable through later. So I'm going to plug this in here. And then we're going to run this down, and that way we can size it all correctly. Now, I will have to hold the housing in with cable ties, which is not ideal, but I can't really see any other way of doing it. I mean, I know you can actually get, I was having a look online last night, and you can get like specific mountings that mount to here, which actually might be something that I think I might pick up, because it will just take that away from it. As I say, the cable ties, for what they cost, that might be a good idea. They just look like they're double-sided, they stick onto there. I mean, to be honest with you, this will be absolutely fine. No problems at all, but I just think aesthetically. I had a look online last night, and there were only a few pounds. Kind of feel like I've got it all where it needs to be, so that's obviously going to be down there. But I would say, I'd say about there. I think that would do it. I'm going to put another cable, just straighten that out. As always, open the ending up. Ferrule on the end. And then there's no adjuster on these SRAM ones, which is a bit of a shame, but seems to be the way that they do it. Yeah, I'll put another cable tie on there. Got one I cut earlier, that'll do. There we go. Put that to the inside so you don't overly see it. Oh, there it is. Just see down the hole. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Should feel pretty slick. New cable, new housing. There we go. Well, I wasn't sure what it was hitting there, but it was just bumping in against something. And go back on there. That's all coming together quite nice. Of course it does, it goes through all this. It's the SRAM ones just have to be a little bit extra special. Ah, right, okay, that's interesting. I'm just wondering Is that on the right way? Did that just go? I think that does just go in there. Don't think it goes behind the clip, if I remember right. I think that clip's just there to stop the whole thing rotating. Let's have a feel. There we go. Lovely and smooth. Hi, narrator Rick here. Unfortunately, I lost all the audio for the next few video files, so I'm using a microphone. So what I'm doing is I am just pushing the pistons back into the caliper, so when we fit the new brake pads, they're not being already pushed into the brake disc. Always use I use a plastic trim tool, but just don't use something like a screwdriver because you could end up damaging the pistons. Right, here's my butt loss special brake pads. I buy these in bulk from AliExpress. They're great pads. The only thing is I find sometimes they do have a little bit extra meat on them, which is good, but it can mean that even with the pistons and all that pushed in, they can touch the brake disc and require just a little extra bedding in. Now, I'm not using the threaded pins that the calipers originally came with. I'm using split pins. I am a fan of the split pin because they just don't seize in place, and you simply lock them in place simply by bending this little pin up at the end here, and that's it done. You don't need to worry about stripping Allen key heads and stuff like that. Just works perfectly every time. So finally coming in with the wheel here, we're going to find out if we actually do have any rub on the disc against the pads. A little trick actually, because it's very important when you're putting the back wheel on that the axle pushes into the dropouts fully, or you will get a bit of disc rub where you may not have had in the past. So my tip is, if you do push it up and then clamp it in place, drop the bike onto the ground, release the quick release, just allows the wheel to fully sit home, and then you can tighten it back up again. So what I'm doing, as I always do, you just pull the back brakes on because the caliper will still be loose at this point. So we just pull the back brake on, tighten the bolts up, not completely, we're just going to nick them up just so they kind of come home, and then you can actually see if you get any rub. This works probably 7 out of 10 times. You might want to do a little bit of more adjustment. Now in the case of here, I was actually getting a little bit of rub on the pad all the time, and it wasn't because the calipers were misaligned, it is just those butt gloss pads. But I did a couple of rides on the bike, and after I was done, the pads had just bedded in, and there was no rub. It was absolutely perfect. Now time for the chain. The original chain was absolutely fine, which we're going to reuse. Now when I pushed the pin out earlier, unfortunately I pushed it too far, which means it's not going to hook back in. I like to leave a little bit of pin still sticking into the link, and that way when you go to rejoin it, you can actually clip it into place, and then it makes it a lot easier to rejoin with the chain splitter. You can still do it, it's just going to be a bit harder. Right, here we go, and we can now get this. Oh, I think at this point I remember that the chain was the wrong length actually, which was odd because obviously we were changing it like for like. So I was a bit baffled by that, so clearly something had changed, and we needed to take a few links out. So just checking, 2 or 3 links I think, if I remember right, was going to do it, so we'll just use the chain splitter to knock a few links off. There we go, just popping the link right out the back this time. We don't need to try and leave it part of the way in because we want to get rid of the links altogether. I've decided now to use because we're knocking all those links out, I've just decided to use a quick link and just make it easy for myself. There we go, pull that tight. I always just use the splitting tool just to snap the link into place. And there we go. Now down to the final details. Chain's on, I put the pedals on, and we are just basically indexing through the gears now. Obviously the original audio would have probably been talking about any adjustments and stuff, but as I can't see what my other hand is doing, I can't really comment on that. It looks like what I'm talking about just now is actually just the actual chain alignment between the front chain ring and the rear chain ring, because remember we changed about the bottom bracket and I still don't know what was actually the correct bottom bracket width. I think we went from a 113 to a 118.
Probably thinking that maybe a bigger one might have been a good idea, but we seem to be getting the shifting that we were looking for, and everything seems to be okay. As I'd expect, the bike was actually in very good condition, as it turns out, with all these original components.
Well guys, another successful build, and this actually, despite what I thought it was going to be, actually didn't need an awful lot of stuff. And in the end, even the chain was actually like brand new, the cassette cleaned up well. In fact, the only thing we put on new was the actual brake pad, but everything else was used replacement. So we had to obviously find another derailleur, which we did, which was a massive success. And I changed the tyres because they were cracked. But other than that, oh, that's right, we changed the stem as well, but that was a used stem. So monetary wise, we literally didn't spend anything. It was just more swapping out than anything. So this really was a successful one. So just on another note, after the last video, not the tool chest one, but the one before that, remember the Carrera Vulcan, I think it was? Don't know why specifically, but the video blew up enough that it added me so many subscribers and watch views. Finally, the channel, I have now applied for monetization. So you'll now see on videos, literally by watching them helps me, but also as well, you'll now see things like super thanks. So if you really enjoy the videos that much and you want to chuck me a couple of quid, honestly, I promise I will spend every penny on new tools and stuff. You'll see that down in below. It's like a little pound sign with a heart on it. You click on that and then you can pay. I think it starts at £2 and works its way up, and you can super thanks me. But so it's a great forward leap, and I think the success of the video more than anything was the amount of comments the video got. So it's great that you're watching the videos, it's great that you're liking them, but when you comment, that makes a massive difference. It shows there's lots of interactions, and I do respond to every comment you put on. And those comments have been great. I've had loads of tips, loads of things have been pointed out to me, literally pointing out things that I did wrong. Apparently the front brake caliper mount I put on upside down. Although, to be honest, I had to put it upside down because there was no other way that the brake caliper was going to actually fit that size of disc, because it was a bit of a mash-up of bits. So I'm insanely grateful, and now that I'm monetized, not that it's going to really make me any money much anyway, it's just given me a new fire to actually produce more videos, or more consistent videos. And I'm also now starting, because the analytics are working because of the success of that video, the analytics work much better. So I'm now starting to see the things that you like to see in the video, what other channels you watch, what they're doing, so that I know that's the style of video that you want to see. Because I've always worried about the length of the videos, but more and more of you I'm getting this sort of thing that around the 45-minute might actually be what you look at. So 20 minutes is too short because you have to cut too much out of it. And as soon as you get over an hour, that's just psychological. It's too long and nobody's got time for that, unless you just like to do other things and listen to my voice in the background. But I'm no radio DJ, so I don't know why that would work. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. It was another fun one. This has been another bike from the scrap rescue, which is probably something that seems to be what people like to see. They like to see the helpless causes being saved, which is, to be honest, something that I do love to see. As you know, I volunteer in my local bike library. I work there 2 days a week. And any bikes going into scrap, to be honest, break my heart. But we can't save all of them. We can maybe save bits, but we can't save all of them. But when I do grab a bike out of there that is definitely going to scrap, and like this one, which will be cleaned up, and then I'm going to take this back down to the library, and this bike will either get passed on to someone who cannot afford a bike, or somebody who can only afford a little bit for a bike. So anyway, thank you once again, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.